Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Law. This is your legal light. It is your help law. And this afternoon, we have a special edition for you in business or wishing to go into business, and particularly business of the kind, as in foreign. Also very helpful. So we are talking about business and the GIPC Act, the Ghana Investment Promotion Council Act. Authority now, right? So I've got friends who are joining me, and in the course of the show, I'll tell you a very special reason for which they make themselves available for this important discussion. Here in the studio is Boateng. Also, we have Samuel Aleshu Doji, and also Gamanus Atuguba. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for making time to join us here on The Law.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. So, first of all, when we say the GIPC Act, what is it about it that we should know?
Okay. Thank you very much, Samson, for having us. And hello to your cherished viewers. So when we talk about the GIPC Act, when we talk about the scope of the GIPC Act, we are looking at how businesses, investment in businesses are done, basically, especially Ghanaian and especially foreign participation in businesses. We are also looking at reservation of businesses for locals, so that when you talk about certain reservations like pool betting, certain forms of retail businesses, they are all left out or reserved for Ghanaians only. So this whole scope is looking at also certain incentives and benefits for making investments in Ghana. And then I'll let my brothers take it from there.
All right.
So just to jump in briefly, I think that one of the essence of the GIPC Act is also to answer like a very difficult question, especially a question which countries across the globe are struggling with: how to balance the interest of their locals and still make, their destinations or their countries attractive investment destinations. So we've seen American fairs, we've seen various iterations, even within our domestic history as well. We've had instances where, governments have felt that, foreigners were pricing out the locals out of the economy and all. So effectively seeks to strike a balance, carve out areas where locals can compete favorably, not necessarily easy, but favorably, and still
you make it the preserve exclusive for the locals.
And then still
but that's some discrimination in there. Okay, positive discrimination.
Well, we'll touch on that. But I think the other angle also is, how do you create, because FDI is a very significant source of revenue for this country as well. And within our globalized context, no country really builds its country just by itself. It marshals resources from across the globe. So it is really within this context that the GIPC Act is important, is central, and would have a lot more, but I don't know if Jamanus has anything.
Yeah, so Jamanus, he just mentioned FDI. What's that? What animal is that?
Thank you, Samson, and let me take the opportunity to say good afternoon to you and to your cherished viewers. So FDI refers to foreign direct investment, and foreign direct investment refers to bringing in capital from outside of Ghana to help develop our country. So where a non-Ghanaian brings in some capital, some form of money to set up a business here, that's what we refer to as foreign direct investment. How
important is that in the scheme of things for our economy?
Okay, so in our scheme, it's very important because you know how the local economy works. Foreign investment has always been something that drives or helps every economy to grow. So when these people bring in these funds and set up these businesses, Ghanaians get jobs, and these jobs, they earn from it and they're able to take care of their families and all that. So foreign investment is really very important for us as a country because of the jobs that it creates for Ghanaians.
Okay, and Jamanus is the head of legal at Omni Basic, and so you can imagine that he's dealing with some of these things on a day-to-day basis, so he has a certain view of it. If I may get back to Boateng, what role does the Ghana Investment Promotion Center play in regulating these foreign investments?
Okay, so what the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, the role it plays in this is that it's actually, the first of all, as you said, is the regulator. So it governs how investments are in. It also conducts monitoring, ensures compliance, and also have the power to charge administrative penalties for non-compliance as well. So basically, they help to also shape policy for foreign direct investment in Ghana. And also, as Sami said earlier, their role is also key in maintaining that balance, ensuring that the businesses that are supposed to be reserved for Ghanaians are reserved for Ghanaians. Even though when we go into our markets, we are seeing something totally different. That's one of the roles that they play. They also play practically a role of mediating or ensuring that when there are disputes between governmental institutions and foreign investors, they actually step in to make sure that they have a dispute resolution mechanism to make sure that there's a fair balance and disputes are also resolved. So they play a very wide role when it comes to foreign direct investments in Ghana. Right.
Anyone of you wants to say anything about the role that they play, GIPC, in this foreign direct, investment in this country?
Well, I'll probably sum up her argument to say that they regulate the business climate, because the GIPC is really just an example of what you can call a global phenomenon of investment promotion agencies across board. Now, these investment promotion agencies conduct roadshows, they conduct visibility projects and all, because imagine someone is sitting somewhere in, let's say, America, has a certain conception of Africa, a continent or a country with zero internet, people live on trees, and all of those negative stereotypes. Okay? An entity like GIPC then goes on a roadshow, says, look, these are the opportunities we have here, these are the incentives we have here,
okay,
and these are your protections under law as well. So basically, they regulate and they promote the country's investment drive, and it's very significant. It's not something that can be taken for granted, especially when one considers the importance of FDIs, foreign direct investments, within our economy.
Right. So talking about incentives, before we get there, what are the key requirements for foreign investors under this law? As we understand, there are certain capital thresholds. What are they?
Okay, so let me take that. So, under the current regime, if you are a foreigner and want to invest in business in Ghana, if it's a joint venture, you are required to have a minimum of $200,000 as capital investment. It has to be in either cash or goods. And the Ghanaian partner has to have at least 10% shares in that business. So
you said a joint venture?
Joint venture, yes.
Which means the foreign partner is coming to partner a Ghanaian to set up the company. And the Ghanaian must have at least 10% stake, equity. All right.
And then the foreigner has to bring a minimum of $200,000.
$200,000. And you say it's either in cash
or in capital goods.
Or in
related
capital.
To the business.
Okay. Okay. Right. Equipment. Yes, is that all? The thresholds?
The second add up, if the foreigner is coming in alone, then he needs to have a minimum of $500,000 as capital investment. It can be in cash or it can be in capital goods. But if the foreigner also wants to invest in trading, sale of goods and other businesses, he needs to bring at least $1 million as capital.
So he's graduated from 200 partnership. So you benefit because you have attached the Ghanaian and you are giving the Ghanaian 10%. Or did I say giving? It's not exactly giving.
Ghana is investing 10%.
10%. Then as you move up, you want to do a loan, then you move from 200 to 500. And then if you want to engage in trade, then you are required to bring a capital of 1 million. Okay, why the difference? Why the difference capital investment?
I think, first of all, the difference in capital, I think you answered the first one, is because for the first situation, there's a JV, and you're actually involving a Ghanaian. You are actually giving the Ghanaian...
Once again, a JV is a joint venture.
A joint venture.
Okay.
So it's a joint venture, and you have a Ghanaian partner, and you are giving the Ghanaian partner a minimum of 10% shareholding in there, even though the Ghanaian partner is required by law to also invest, to the tune of the value of that 10% or whichever shares that they take in. The Ghanaian will also have that opportunity to be a part. There's that opportunity also for job creation. There's that opportunity for the transfer of technology, transfer of skills. So you realize that when a person is coming in with a Ghanaian partner, the law sees it as a Ghanaian benefiting. So the law has that graduated scheme where when a Ghanaian is involved, the threshold is less.
Yeah, you spoke about transfer of, what's the name?
Technology.
Technology.
Yes.
And then skills. Right.
Acquisition of skills.
Right.
Yes. So because you are bringing in you are bringing in technology or you're transferring skills, the law sees it as an opportunity for the Ghanaian nationals to benefit.
Right.
And so if there are Ghanaians involved, and we are looking at 200,000.
So we relax it.
We relax it. And then if you are as a wholly owned foreign business, meaning that the foreigner is owning this business by himself, he doesn't have any Ghanaian qualification or participation in the equity participation, then we are saying that you have to invest a minimum of $500,000.
Right.
Then we come to trading. As my brother said, the trading in retail business under the Act is reserved for Ghanaians. So retailing in stores, in markets, pool betting, sachet water production and sale, they are all reserved for Ghanaians. But if you are a foreigner and you want to engage in trading, then the law is saying that, okay, in order to balance the Act, so that Ghanaians who may not have access to those kind of capital, for them to also be able to engage, we'll leave the less threshold to Ghanaians. And then you have to make sure that you inject a minimum capital of $1 million United States dollars if you want to trade in, you want to engage in trade in Ghana.
Interesting. So, Samuel, she just mentioned the, trade, some type of business which is exclusively reserved for Ghanaians. Take us through what is exclusively reserved to Ghanaians one more time and explain why. Recently, we saw that the GIPC officials went around Abosokai locking up some shops. We heard some people say, some Nigerians say, I'm married to a Ghanaian, and so forth. The business is actually for my wife, and so on.
So this is actually a very difficult section of the law, both in terms of how it is constructed and how it is implemented. Now, in looking at areas reserved exclusively for Ghanaians, we need to understand that, we've come a long way, especially with respect to this section. Now, if you take Bouzier's 1969 Aliens Compliance Order, for instance, one of the reasons that precipitated these things were because they felt like it was an open space. There weren't clear-cut areas. Ghanaians felt they were being priced out and being out-competed within their own country.
So we decided to push people away.
We decided to push
the Nigerians retaliated. Exactly. Ghana must go.
But it didn't end there. The processes were refined. Subsequently, we came up with a promotion of Ghanaian Business Act as well. Now, you would find a bit of the restrictions that you find in the current legislation in the promotion of the Ghanaian Business Act, which was, I think, in 1970, still under the Bouzier regime as well.
Okay.
Because the regime was still trying to experiment and find the right cocktail in terms of what would work. And migration, movement of people, resources, it's always been a thing. There's been Syrians, there have been Ugandans, there have been Indians, and they've been all doing business in Ghana. There have been Lebanese, they've all been doing business in Ghana.
Right.
So how you strike the balance in terms of encouraging their actions and promoting their business as well. It's critical. But let me just set out the areas under the Act. So if you look at the areas, the basic is that there's a restriction on the sale of goods or provision of services in market. And as a general rule, a lot of the restricted areas have very low entry requirements. And because they have low entry requirements, it's at least comfortable for Ghanaians with low capital to venture. And because it's low capital, the state needs to hive off those areas in a way just to ensure that people do not come in there. Now, the operation of taxis or car hire is also another area. Now, the operation of beauty salons and barbering shops is also another area. The printing of recharge cards. And interestingly, recharge card, this is an industry which clearly has been overtaken by technology as well.
That's right.
In all honesty, I don't remember the last time we bought a recharge card.
Right. Now you buy it on your own
Yes.
device.
The production of exercise books and basic stationery, the retail of pharmaceutical industry. So the list goes on and on and on.
But let's go through the list.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the production, supply, and retail of sachet water. Then all aspects of pool betting business and lotteries, with exceptions being made for football pool. Now, part of, and as I was explaining, in the promotion of the Ghanaian Business Act, for instance, something like bakery, operating a bakery, for instance, was prohibited. Okay? Now, areas such as taxis were also prohibited. The sale of, and interestingly, under the Ghanaian Business Promotion Act, and I keep referring to it because it kind of like provides a background.
It gives a good history, yeah.
Where we are right now. There were explicit provision in there that says that, you know what, we've carved out these areas for Ghanaians. And Ghanaians can operate in this area. But next level, we are making it an offense for people to front. So a Ghanaian cannot front for a foreigner. And in that instance, it was also critical because these legislations operated in a way that they disarmed and, I think expropriated is the word, expropriated people's businesses. Because prior to the passage of the legislation, non-Ghanaians were operating in those areas. With the passage of the legislation, some way, somehow, they needed to check out of those industries. And there was the fear and understanding that, well, they may use Ghanaians as a cover-up. So offenses such as fronting were introduced in here, in the Act. Now, if the current GIPC Act doesn't explicitly make reference to fronting, but anybody who's been on the ground and anybody who's been in business knows that in various areas, especially areas where there are local content requirement, and by local content requirement, what we mean is that these are areas which are set out not exclusively for Ghanaians, but it may involve Ghanaians with certain conditions and all.
All right.
You find Ghanaians fronting, and it's an entirely complex structure because
What are the consequences for breaching, that provision, for example, where it says this is reserved, so you don't go into it? What are the consequences for that? Whilst you are trying to get us on that, I like Watumatu. In practice, how do these requirements affect foreign investors, particularly the small and medium-sized businesses? In your firm at A.B. Boateng Law Practice, as a managing partner, I can imagine you are sitting with a foreigner who wants to do business and he's looking at all of this, but why are you doing this against me?
So the real practical implication here is that, unfortunately for us, or unfortunately for Ghana, in our sub-region, our African sub-region, it is only Ghana that has these minimum capital requirements. And so it is making doing business in Ghana uncompetitive. So if you have, for instance, we have a tech person, and a good example would be someone like Steve Jobs, who is known to have started Apple from his garage. If Steve Jobs at the time had tried to come and start in Ghana, and he had a garage to available that he could work from, he couldn't start in Ghana without, if he was trying to start a loan, $500,000, or if he was trying to start or work with a Ghanaian, $200,000. So what it's actually doing is that it is making Ghanaians uncompetitive, and it is stifling small scale and medium scale businesses who may not have access to such capital. Unfortunately, fortunately for the large scale businesses, they have access to wide range of capital. So it comes in multinationals. So a lot of times they are multinationals. So it comes easy to them. But if you have these smaller scale and medium scale, that is a big problem and is a turnoff. And so if Ghana has this threshold and Nigeria doesn't, if I were a Steve Jobs of today and I came to Ghana and I heard this, I'll just pack my little bag and find a garage in Nigeria.
Yes, so Germanus, do you think that the capital thresholds discourage investments? If they do, how exactly? And we heard the president, I think for the first time, he went to Singapore trying to woo Singapore business into Ghana and said there's an amendment that is going to go through and we're going to remove the capital thresholds, meaning everybody is going to come and push away our mothers who are doing these small businesses.
Yes, it does discourage foreign investment, because if you look at the thresholds, if you talk of $500,000 US, so expect Nigerian who wants to set up a business in Ghana, who wants to maybe go into fashion or any other business, you expect him to bring in $500,000. That's quite a lot.
That kind of business is not business we don't have. We already have. Our sisters are all doing it. So stay somewhere. Let's do it on our own.
They could bring in some new innovation that our people don't have. And it's even though, as like you're saying, it may push our people aside, but we know there are certain artisan works and other trades that certain people are very good at. That Ghanaians sometimes we are not as good as. Some people complain about even things like tiling, doing other businesses. They prefer to bring in Togolese and
that's true.
to come and do some of these things for them, because when they take Ghanaians to do these things, they're able to deliver as they are supposed to. So this amount actually is very incentive for people to come in to set up businesses in that area.
Tell us about what sanctions are available for those who breach the reserve exclusive, trade sort of marks, and then we will then find out if there are any protections or benefits, for people who are coming under this particular act.
All right. So in terms of the way the offenses are structured, there are a number of offenses under the act, but generally, anybody who misleads, the GIPC, provides false information, underdeclares, or does anything which, matches the reality of what it does, that person commits an offense. Now, anybody who, for instance, lets out a store in a market to a foreigner, for instance, also commits an offense. Now, there's a catch-all phrase there, that's anybody that does an act that contradicts the provisions of the act also conducts an offense. Now, I think the drafters did a brilliant job by also striking a balance between not entirely criminalizing it. So if you look at in terms of what the punishment is, provision is made for the imposition of a fine, but it falls short of a custodial sentence.
Okay.
Now, if you are probably on the Guta side of things and you are listening to this, you'll probably be wondering, what's the brilliance here? Because I think Guta has also been very consistent, and they've been paid, first of all, by foreign, I don't want to mention any nationalities and all, but clearly when you hear their advocacy and all, they feel the penalty provisions is really not sharp enough. And they feel that we need to enforce the law. Okay? But once again, it's a tough call, and I don't envy the folks at GIPC and the people who have to be making decisions around this. Because once again, you live within a globalized context. And we've got the Africa Free Trade Continental headquartered in Accra. And so all of these signaling means something, how we go about this. Because if we set up an infrastructure, a continental infrastructure meant to promote trade, and then, we, on the other hand, acting and enforcing legislation, which in a way is protectionist, then in a way we kind of then need to reconcile what the way forward is for us as a country.
Okay.
And that's why I say I don't envy the people who have to strike that particular balance.
Okay.
But as far as the punishment goes, it is the imposition of a fine. It also involves, you've been convicted. So once convicted, maybe there's a bit of a stigma there.
A bit of a stigma?
Well,
Yeah, it's a stigma.
Anyway, yeah.
I'd like to add to what Samuel is saying. You realize that a lot of the times, those who are not complying with the businesses that have been reserved for Ghanaians are those largely in the informal sector. Now, we have the formal sector where people have, entities have actually registered with the GIPC. And they may be, as Samuel said, they may have provided false or misleading information. They may have said they were engaged in a certain business and be engaging in another. So for those in the formal sector, the GIPC works with the Bank of Ghana to ensure that the benefits that you're entitled to, you won't get. So for instance, if you want to remit funds, your dividends or profits back home, GIPC can report to the Bank of Ghana, and Bank of Ghana will ensure that you will not get any funds outside the country. And for a lot of the businesses in the formal sector, that is a big deal because you want to be able to trade and take your returns back to your shareholders wherever they may be. So I think this is also very important.
A great part to ask JoyNews about the protections or benefits that, one gets, or the provisions offer to the investor.
Okay, thank you, Samson. So I think the first incentive is that once you are properly registered under the Act, then you are entitled to all the incentives that every other Ghanaian is entitled to under the revenue laws. So if there are any tax incentives for any Ghanaian company, once you are properly registered with the GIPC, then you get to benefit from that. The other benefit is that any company that's properly registered at GIPC, you are allowed to repatriate any profits that you make. There's no hindrance to it. Once it's profits, you are allowed to repatriate it. Okay. Also, you are also protected against discrimination. You're treated like every other Ghanaian company once you are properly registered. I think these are the major benefits under the Act.
All right. Someone wanted to say something?
Well, so I think he touched on it in terms of guarantees as well, because businesses are entitled to be treated fair and equitably. The Act doesn't define what fair and equitably is, but I think it's broad enough to capture scenarios where a foreign business should not receive the short end of the stick simply because it's a foreign business. And also regulations and legislation should not deliberately target foreign businesses in a way that impairs and hurts them in terms of their business operations.
Right. Thank you very much. You're still here on The Law. This is your Legal Lights. It is your health law. And we are so fortunate to have this group of lawyers assisting us on this very important discussion about business, doing business, particularly as a foreigner who wants to do business in Ghana. What are the requirements that you must go through the GIPC to be able to do that? My guest, Boateng, who is managing partner at AB Boateng Law. Samuel Aleshu Doji is a partner, Audrey Gray, and of course, JoyNews Atuba is head of legal at the Omni Basic Bank. I told you I'll tell you something about them. They all have one thing in common, not that they are lawyers. I'll share that with you shortly. Now, from your perspective, what reforms would you say are most urgently needed as far as the GIPC Act is concerned? Yes, Samuel, start with you.
Well, I would have wished Boateng takes it because, she shared some wonderful insights.
Okay.
Okay. So the there's currently a draft bill before Parliament. And the key provision that they are trying to amend or repeal is the provisions on the thresholds. So that now there's going to be, once the bill is passed, now there's no requirement to meet the minimum capital requirements, you know.
Free for all.
Free for all. Free for some. Okay, I must be quick to add.
Our traders will fight it too.
So first of all, these now you can engage in business. You don't need to pay the 200,000 if you are engaged in business with the local, or the 500,000 once the draft is passed, bill is passed. And then when it comes to trading, now the threshold for trading has been reduced from 1 million to 500,000, so that at first, if you're a foreigner and you want to engage in trading in Ghana, you needed to be able to invest in either cash or capital goods, import the capital goods or in cash, 1 million United States dollars. Now, this bill is proposing to change that. It's saying that bring in $500,000, but this time bring it in cash only. Now, for us, that is very key because, first of all, now the Steve Jobs around the world or around the globe are now able to come in to do business on their own. The main requirement now is that you have to make sure that because you're a foreigner, once you are legally incorporated, you register with the GIPC so that you can benefit. But the most important thing is that you don't need to comply with this minimum capital requirement again because they are no longer there. They are going to be scrapped. But if you are going to be engaging in trading, then once you are engaging in trading, the new law is saying you're going to have to invest a minimum of 500,000, but it has to be in cash.
Only cash.
Only in cash. But for that, there's a little concern that, as we're waiting to come in, we're all discussing. Now, we are saying that the current regime is invest 1 million in either goods, capital goods, or in cash.
Right.
Now, you're reducing it to 500,000. So
only cash.
Only cash. Now, that is going to be challenging for most. We think it's going to be burdensome for most traders because at first you could bring in the product and start trading. But now you're saying bring in cash. If we are going by the current regime where we have to now pay 5% on transfer of Forex, so you bring in the 500,000, if assuming that's the only funds available to the trader, and so the funds have to also go back out. We are saying that 500,000, we are going to lose 5%.
So even before Parliament begins the consultation for that bill, or the state begins the consultation for that amendment, we are getting, a recommendation, something that has to be changed as far as this bill is concerned. Please repeat what your recommendation again is.
So the recommendation is that we can still reduce it from 1 million to 500,000 for foreign traders, but let it be open for both capital goods and then also in cash, so that they have the option, so that the trader who has just access to 500,000 will not bring in 500,000 to Ghana only to meet the GIPC registration requirement and have to take it back and lose 5% on it. That is still working as a disincentive if we are going by the current business environment in Ghana. Okay.
Thank you very much. There's one aspect, question I needed to ask. Why does the law require technology transfer agreements to be registered with the GIPC? Yes, who take that? The banker, the prolific writer, the managing partner?
No, so I mean, technology transfer agreements are structured in a way that when people come in with skills, yes, people may come in with capital, people may come in with all kinds of resources. One of them is technology transfer, okay? So a multinational enterprise sets up in Ghana. They have a particular suite resource that they use. They want a harmonized system across board. They'll definitely bring in some of those resources here. The real reason for registering some of these technology transfer agreements is to ensure that we keep a tabs on really what people are bringing in and what people are taking out. Because in the absence of a regulated space, now technology which you can easily find here in Ghana, people would bring it elsewhere, from elsewhere. which doesn't particularly help. So there's a policy angle to it, and the caveat seems to be, if we can find it here, why bring it from outside?
Okay.
So it's really to keep tabs on what's happening on that space as well.
All right. Thank you very much. Once again, you are right here on The Law. This is your legal light. It is your help law. And I told you I'll tell you what is common among the three of our guests this afternoon. And help me to tell people what it is I wanted to tell them. What's common among you?
Okay, so the very thing that we have in common is that we are all members of the 2015 year group of the Ghana School of Law.
So you were called to the bar to begin to practice the law 10 years ago.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Samson.
And you are celebrating your 10th anniversary. Interesting. I'm actually putting on the activities that you intend to do Thursday, the 2nd of October at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. You're having a breakfast and lunch of the 10th anniversary at Best Western Premier Hotel Airport. On Friday at 10 a.m., you are doing sports at Burma Camp Sports Complex and outreach activities. Then on Saturday, the 4th of October, that's a dinner at Best Western again. Then on Sunday, today, that's you are doing a Thanksgiving service between 10:30 a.m. onwards. So that means all these activities have been done, and today you have decided that you will give sort of free legal advice to people. So this pro bono. Thank you so very much for availing yourselves. So why celebrate anniversary on your 10th year?
So I mean, I'll tell you a story. When we're called to the bar, you know, there was a church service, and usually it's very merry, it's very joyful and all, but ours was titled a penitential service at the Anglican Church. And this was shortly after the Anas expose, and it was a very guarded service, if you recall. And usually there's a possession on the street and all, but we could not go to the possession because of the general, temperament, and feeling around.
That judges were taking goats and all of that.
So I think for us, it's still a journey. It's a reflective journey, having come this far. And why celebrate anniversary? I think it's always an opportunity to look back at it, because it's also a celebration of friendship. It's also a celebration of learning, achievement, and commitment. And it also provides a platform to look forward outside of ourselves and see what we can do, for the wider community as well. So,
what do you have to say?
To add to what Samuel was saying, for those of us who were on the main campus, the first year, we lost one of our brothers, and so he was
the very first year of your
very
call.
First year, not of our call. The first year in school.
Oh, in school.
Yes, we lost our brother, the late Emmanuel Owusu Sempe, and then afterwards we've lost two more of our members. The former Clerk of Parliament, Mr. Robert Apodola, was one of us, and Mr. Herman Parry. And so as we are reflecting, we are also thinking about many brothers and sisters who are no longer here with us, and we just want to think about the memories they left behind, their contributions to our journey as well. So this is not only, as Samuel said, this is not only a time for us to celebrate and thank God for how far He's brought us, but a time for us to also think about some of our members who are no longer here with us.
Right, Jimanus, what do you have to say? And I'm excited about something. Your year group, on the occasion of doing this is a legal clinic. You are availing yourself. People go to lawyers for advice, and they have to pay, because that's what the lawyer, does for a living. And you offer yourself to do this for free. And as I understand, your team has agreed that a number of you will avail yourself to assist us to continue to give, this kind of education to our audiences. So I'll say, thank you very much. Yes, you are going to say something.
Yes, Samson, I was saying that you have also been to the law school, you know what you go through to come out. It's a very tough situation. People have stayed in law school for 5 years, 6 years trying to get out.
Right.
So to have been out and we have been practicing for 10 years, we may not be where we want to be, but we have to give thanks to God. And for many of us who are first-generational lawyers, it's really a big deal.
Great.
At the core, it was excitement for both our families and even our clans and others. So we may not be where we want to be, but I want to thank God for what He has done for us and to forge a way forward and see how we can arrive at where we want to.
Do you know how many of your group members are itching to get into the High Court? Because your 10th anniversary means you're qualified to go into the High Court as a judge.
Yes, we are.
Colleagues at the circuit court.
Right.
Yes.
At the district court as
Right.
well. So
Right. Okay.
we'll get there.
Right.
The journey we are
so,
on.
thank you all so very much. The 2015 Call to the Bar Year Group on your 10th anniversary. And it's been beautiful from Thursday till today. Thank you all so very much. And if you are just joining us, this is The Law. It's your legal light. It is your help law. And I've been engaging Samuel Alesudoji, partner Audrey Gray, Jamanus Atugba, who is head legal, Omni Basic Bank, and Boateng is managing partner, AB Boateng Law Practice. This has been The Law. It's your legal lights. It is your help law. Have a good afternoon.